Our next speaker is Rufus Olins. He's Managing Director of Haymarket Brand Media. Rufus, we can say, knows publishing. He has been at Haymarket for over 8 years and was voted Best Magazine Editor of the Year by 2 different of his industry's associations.
Thanks, John. Well, for those of you that don't know Haymarket, it's a specialist media company, and I make that distinction having listened to Bob earlier when he talked about mass media companies. I'm not sure where it puts us on the fuckometer, but perhaps you'll come to your own conclusions at the end of the presentation. Haymarket was founded by Michael Heseltine just after he graduated from university, and despite a rather lengthy spell in politics, he still runs it today. And for the past 48 years or so, we've been doing things pretty much the same way. We've got titles, here are some of them, ranging from things like What Car and 442, a football magazine, to Eve, Horticulture Week, and Management Today. And many people would have said we were in the magazine business. But this year is our 50th anniversary, and as we approach it, we recognize that we're going through huge disruptive change. We don't feel like we're in the magazine business, and we don't describe ourselves as being in the magazine business anymore. We talk about serving communities and providing them with content and the means of communicating with one another. And that's, I think, a theme that's emerged during the course of today. I mean, IBM is not a company that makes computers anymore. It's a company that provides services and consultancy. The bit that I run is focused on the advertising, marketing, and media community. And we reckon that's about 400,000 people in the UK and about 4 million people around the world. And we've got a strange relationship with this community because we've got multiple relationships. There are readers, our users, our advertisers, and sometimes our newsmakers. You may be familiar with some of the long-standing titles we've got, like Campaign and Marketing and PR Week and Revolution. But the brand that now sits at the center of our activities is our website, Brand Republic. And in some ways, we've chosen that it sits at the center of our activities, but in some ways, it's been thrust upon us. Brand Republic already has more users than all of our marketing magazines put together. Over 200,000 people visit Brand Republic on a regular basis. So the website that sat in the corner for the first few years of its life, and it came into being in 2001, it was originally seen as a way to bury stories, and it wasn't the most popular place to work in Haymarket. It's now the absolute opposite. It's the hottest property, and it's the place where you get most exposure, and it's the place that lots of people want to work. And I think that many of the changes and opportunities that face media owners and have an impact on all advertisers are encapsulated by Brand Republic, which we did relaunch with the help of Ogilvy in February this year. When we relaunched, we had to take account of 3 main things that were happening. One was convergence, multimedia, call it whatever you want, but it really is happening. And one example that we've got is we have something called Media Week TV, where we interview people in a studio and we broadcast it over the internet. And for those that are interested, Michael Grave from ITV is on next week. But it shows that the way in which our business has changed. I mean, 10 years ago, display advertising was our main source of revenue. Today, it accounts for less than half of our business. The second theme was internationalization. Again, something that's been talked about for a long time that has become a reality. You just have to look at Ogilvy. It's very rare to find a British accent there. We've got South African, we've got New Zealand, we've got North American, and there are some Brits. There are some people from Monmouthshire. But I think it is an illustration of the way the world has become international, our world, the world of marketing and advertising particularly. And a consequence of that is that without even trying, nearly 1/3 of Brand Republic's users are from outside the UK. And also, our competitors are now from outside the UK. We're operating on an international playing field in a way that we never used to be. So that was the second theme that we thought about. And the third is community. And that operates on 2 levels. I mean, first of all, there really is a marketing community. And not only that, the people in it, as you will know better than anyone, are not passive consumers. This community is knowledgeable, it's opinionated, it's interested in the views and experience of its peers. So the idea that our 70 or so journalists are going to tell you what they think is interesting, or useful or even entertaining, and that's going to be enough for you, well, that's history. It's not the way life works anymore. And on another level, we've got a community of brands within Brand Republic. So Brand Republic is a bit like the shopping mall. It's like Brent Cross or Blue Water, and the magazines are like the shops within it, John Lewis or Phoenix or Waitrose. So with all this in mind, we came and talked to Ogilvy and constructed a site that acknowledges that although this community is united by common interests, that each of you has different needs and preoccupations, and they may change at different times. So, when Brand Republic was relaunched, we consciously rejected the traditional marketing messages of telling you how wonderful it was. Instead, we ran a short film and a series of press ads talking about republics and encouraging people to sign up to the Republic, to recognize that they were members of a community, and by joining the Brand Republic community, that they could contribute. So while the site still produces news, and lots of it, now you can comment on any piece of it, you can correct an inaccuracy, you can voice an opinion, or you can add a new dimension to it. But it's now much much deeper than just news and jobs. And it's able to be customized. So you can view Brand Republic through whichever prism interests you. You can just receive RSS feeds. You can customize your own homepage and put your fitness routine on it, or your daily recipe, or the weather. You can view it through one of the 7 magazines that inhabit Brand Republic. You can go to the Asian section, or you can go straight to the community section. And that generates fun as well as serious comments. So we've got discussions around talent, career progression, remuneration. Today you can participate in a discussion about whether it's a good idea for the Labour Party to have hired Saatchi and Saatchi. You can also get thoughts from Rory about the new Playboy mansion and how much people in advertising earn. But community is one of the most popular areas of the site. In fact, it's the second most popular, only to news. And we know that because we've measured it. And that's the extraordinary thing about all of this. You can measure almost everything, which means that advertisers can measure almost everything too. And one question that's preoccupying us is what value to put on these measurements. How do you evaluate participation and engagement? How do you rate the energy and the buzz created by each element of the campaign? And then the network or multiplying effect of adding the bits together. So it's how do you measure engagement rather than exposure? We can measure things like the active opt-ins, further information, the number of comments posted, the competition, how many votes it gets, but we haven't got all the answers. Who has? But we are now working on this together, and the speed of change is sometimes bewildering for us, and it's getting faster and faster all the time, which does mean that there's more willingness to talk and to learn than there's ever been before, and the barriers are coming down. So our relationship with marketers in a client context has changed hugely. It's much more complex today, and many of the campaigns that we run are truly multi-platform. I mean, in particular with people like Microsoft actually and Yahoo and Channel 4. When we talk about getting a message across, we'll use live events, we'll use email, we'll use banners, as well as press. We might use polls and quizzes also to help them target and even shape a message. So it's becoming very, very complicated, a bit like in the motherhood, where you use all of the different means at your disposal. And this new openness, I think, is very interesting, and paradoxically goes hand in hand with an increasing level of impatience when people receive something that's intrusive or boring or irrelevant. So we believe that we're at the beginning of something which was terrifically exciting. We've been talking a bit about glass half full and glass half empty. There are some people in our office that believe it's about 10% think it's full, about 10% think it's empty, and 80% of us actually keep changing our mind. We're not quite sure. Depends on the day. But our visitors are up, and the time they spend on the site is up. But we recognize that we are really at the very, very beginning of something, and there's much, much more to come. Some of which we're driving, and some of which will come from you or people quite like you. So I would just ask you, please do engage with us. For one thing, that Rory does need all the feedback he can get on his blog. Thank you very much.